Hey guys, I hope you had a great week. You're having a great day and are experiencing the blessings and grace of God in your life today. Last week we talked about the importance of the practice of silence, and that was building upon the message that I had spoken on Sunday, talking about persistence and hanging in there and not giving up. And I talked about the importance of spiritual disciplines that we incorporate into our life that help us experience our union with God, help us experience His presence in ever greater degrees. Certainly these spiritual practices, again, remember this, are not brownie or things that we do to earn brownie points with God, make God love us any more than He does. They are not that. Spiritual disciplines and practices are means of grace. It's kind of like a waterfall going over the edge of a cliff, and the grace of God is that waterfall, and we are choosing to put ourselves underneath the abundance of the flow of that water, and we're choosing to stand under it and let it wash over us. That's what spiritual disciplines or spiritual practices are, and they're means of grace by which we are able to experience the presence, the power, our relationship and intimacy with Him in ever greater degrees. As I said, last week we talked about the importance of silence and incorporating that practice into our life. This week I want to talk about the other spiritual discipline that goes hand in hand with silence, and that is the practice of solitude. Now, a lot of us have had an opportunity to practice this discipline either by choice or by governmental decree, as many of us are experiencing right now. But solitude is something that, again, we do choose to do in incorporating the practice of silence with it. Henry David Thoreau said, "I've never found a companion that is as companionable as solitude." Jesus, when you read in the Gospels, many times you'll find little statements by the Gospel writers that says that Jesus got up a great while before day and went off to a solitary place to be alone. He often did that on the spur of the moment, sometimes early in the morning, sometimes in the evening, sometimes in the middle of a busy day. He stopped everything and just went away to be alone with the Father. Solitude is really us stepping out of and stepping free from our interaction with other people. It's a choice that we make. We're choosing to step away from human relationships for a period of time, whether that period of time is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, a day, a week, whatever. It's different than isolation. Isolation for a lot of people is simply a means of escape. They have issues and things that they don't want to face in their life, and they're running from them, and they're trying to hide from their problems. Solitude and isolation are worlds apart. Has to do with why we're doing what we're doing. And when we incorporate the practice of solitude into our life, it is a choice we're making to be alone, totally alone, away from human interaction and relationship, to be alone with God. It should be a practice that's kind of incorporated into the daily rhythm of our lives. I like how the Message talked about in Matthew chapter 6, and Jesus talked about living according to the unforced rhythms of grace. And solitude as well as silence should be a part of the rhythm of our life, just like a symphony that's being played, or the tune of a song that has, a beat to it and a rhythm to it that we can move to, that we can flow with. Solitude should be incorporated into our lives in just that very way. Are you setting time away in your life so that you can just be alone? And I know, again, a lot of us are, because of this quarantine, and what basically amounts to a lot of people for house arrest, but that's not a choice that you made. I'm talking about a choice that you're making, that you're choosing to set aside a period of time to get alone and be by yourself each day. As Vance Havner used to say, come apart or you will come apart. Solitude is essential to your spiritual health. If you go through church history and you look at people who have had any kind of depth in their walk with Jesus Christ, you will find that these are people who incorporated the practice of solitude into their life. See, when we're alone, We're not there to impress other people. We're not there to impress ourselves. We're not there to impress God. I mean, we're just by ourselves. And this is a practice, as I said last week, much like silence, is like sleep. It's a practice where you're not really doing anything in the sense of activity other than just choosing to be alone. As Western Christians, we like to put a lot of emphasis on practices that involve activity, things that we do. And we're active and we're busy and we're talking or we're singing or we're engaged in some activity that makes us feel like we're contributing something to our spiritual growth and walk. And again, sadly, earning some brownie points with God, so he'll bless us a little more because of what we've done. But solitude, no, it's something where you're just sitting back and you're not really doing anything at all. Busyness in our lives is an enemy. And you just wait when this quarantine thing is over and everybody begins to start engaging back in life. Well, for a lot of people, they're going to find how blessed and healthy and much more intimate their relationships were with their wives or husbands or their children because they had time that they were able to be alone with them. They're also going to find that busyness is going to begin to put that drain back on them again. It's going to begin to suck the life out of them. And busyness, especially in the West, is an enemy of our soul. One of the things that we loved about living in Central America when we did was the pace of life there. People always had time for things. If you went up and you saw someone when we would go to visit, no matter what they were doing, even the coffee farmers up in the mountains in the middle of harvest season, if they saw us coming, they dropped everything. We went to the front porch, had some sugar cane, some coffee, talked for a while, and then they went on back out to continue harvesting in the fields, and we went on our way. They understood and that busyness can kill. It can kill your family. It can kill your body. It can kill your mind. It is a devastating enemy. And solitude is one of the things that we can practice that is able to combat the enemy of busyness. Now, solitude's not easy. It's like silence. When you're alone, the primary place that the enemy is going to attack is going to be in your mind. That's right. Your thoughts are going to be racing. You're going to be thinking about things you should be doing, that you didn't do, that you need to do tomorrow. Why am I doing this? This is not benefiting me in any way. I mean, there's just going to be a continual assault, a flow of bullets from the flying into your mind, as it were, spiritually, to keep you from benefiting from your time alone with God. So you need to understand that's going to happen, and it can be very difficult. But what I would encourage you to do, just like we talked about last week with silence, and incorporate these two together, solitude and silence. Set aside 5 minutes, just 5 minutes a day, when you can go off and be alone. Now, it might be that you go into a room and are by yourself, shut the door. You remember when Jesus talked about even praying, and he said, when you go into your room, shut the door behind you and you're praying, and your Father who hears in secret and sees in secret will reward you openly. Again, he's understanding the importance of this whole idea of being alone. Sometimes it means that you go take a walk by yourself, maybe in the woods or to a park. And again, sometimes when you're out in public, it's hard to be, away from a lot of people. But find some place where you can just be by yourself and just start out with 5 minutes a day. That's it. You can let that time grow and build as you incorporate this practice into your life. And what you'll begin to find is you learn how to practice silence, focusing on your breath as you're there listening, being still, and you're alone. You will find that you're going to want more time. And sometimes it may say, well, you know what, 5 minutes is enough. I want 10. And then when 10 minutes isn't enough, you say, I need to do this twice a day. And you'll be finding yourself looking for moments when you can get alone and be away, because you're going to begin to see the benefit that it will have for you, not only spiritually, because that is a depth of riches that you'll experience spiritually, but mentally, emotionally, physically, when you practice the practice of solitude. Just find some time each day and intentionally do this. Be alone. Van Gogh said, one can be instructed in society, but one can be inspired in solitude. And I promise you, you incorporate this practice into your life, you'll experience resistance against it. Believe you me. But once you begin to practice it, you will find new inspiration coming to you in a variety of ways. You be blessed, and we'll see you, Lord willing, on Sunday.